This video is sponsored by Last Flag. Right now, I want all of you watching this video to go click on any other Team Fortress 2 video, and chances are, Payload. Payload, 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 payload. Oh my god, what's going on? Why? Well, I bet the knee-jerk answer is, well hey, Payload is fun. And yeah, you'd be right. Payload is indeed a very fun game mode. Hell, Team Fortress 2 was the first video game in history to introduce a Payload-like game mode. It was originally created all the way back in 2008. And as time went on, Payload became so successful in Team Fortress 2 that other developers outright copied it for their video games. So what on earth makes this game mode so special? What makes Payload the king of Team Fortress 2? On launch, Team Fortress 2 only had two types of objectives: the intelligence briefcase for capture the flag, and control points for the attack defend and 5 control point game modes. No payload, no king of the hill, and no payload race. At the time, TF2's Capture the Flag was the next successor in a long line of those that came before. If you played Capture the Flag in Quake or Halo, you name it, you knew what you were getting yourself into. 2 bases, 2 teams, go get their flag and bring it back to yours. TF2's execution of this classic game mode is both beautiful and immersive, but the gameplay for Capture the Flag falls a bit short. Unfortunately, for Capture the Flag, the objective is all the way over on the other side of the map. This ultimately spreads teams too thin, even larger ones, as more players prefer to defend rather than capture. This creates bottlenecks, where a steady stream of individual players trickles towards the intelligence room, only to be met with a wall of sentries and demo men. Inevitably, gameplay often locks itself into one area of the map, becoming repetitious and a bit stale. Additionally, the intelligence is small. Only one person can hold it at a time, making it the least engaging of the objectives. You can go an entire game without once seeing the enemy's flag, and if you aren't near the player holding it, whose location is changing all of the time and out of your control, well, you're on your own, hoping that whatever you're doing is contributing towards the fight. And if you're the one holding the flag, you'd better be good enough at the game to make some progress. This isn't saying that Capture the Flag is a bad game mode. In fact, it's a fan favorite for new players, because there's less emphasis on the objective itself. They can take their time learning the game's mechanics at their own pace. Despite this, Capture the Flag is often viewed as the weakest of Team Fortress 2's game modes. Before getting to the second kind of objective, if you'd like a fresh take on Capture the Flag that I believe tackles one of its biggest shortcomings, then say hello to Last Flag. Last Flag is a brand new team-based shooter where you play Capture the Flag, but instead of constantly throwing yourself at the same enemy base over and over again and hoping something will change, in Last Flag, both teams first hide their flag, then whoever finds it and takes it back to their base first wins. Now we defend.
Now we defend.
We defend for 5 seconds, we win. We did it! We win!
Hey, you won the
Yes!
match.
You don't know where to start looking? Well, taking over radio towers around the map gradually eliminates where the flag isn't. It's a really refreshing and genuinely fun take on Capture the Flag that focuses way more on offense than defense. I'm honestly shocked this hasn't been done before. Now listen, I've always maintained that I would never advertise something on my channel that I myself have not used nor played, but I've played Last Flag, and it's actually very fun. No, you don't. That's cleaning house, buddy. Oh, look at me go. If you'd like to give Last Flag a shot, the game just launched on April 14th, and during its first week, the game is 20% off. The link is pinned down below. Plus, the first 50 people to redeem my code in-game receive a free Team LFF skin that is yours to keep forever. Thank you so much to Last Flag for sponsoring this video. It's really a fresh take on a classic premise that I wholeheartedly recommend. Now then, Capture the Flag aside, the second objective type that TF2 had on launch was the control point, which is the polar opposite of the intelligence. Instead of one player controlling the objective, you have large areas that anyone can interact with, whenever they want. All that's required is your presence. A player's skill matters infinitely less, meaning any player, new and old, can not only easily understand what needs to be done, but also contribute. This makes control points a far more engaging objective. However, stationary objectives are far less interesting than mobile objectives. As with Capture the Flag, gameplay around control points often locks into one area of the map for an extended period of time, which, for many players, makes gameplay a bit stale. But what if we had a game mode that takes the strengths of both a mobile objective and one that anyone can interact with? Say hello to Payload. Payload was the natural evolution from the control point. Instead of a stationary control point, the objective moves along a set path, which creates gradually shifting staging areas that keep the game fresh. The card itself is just a mobile control point. Any player, regardless of skill, can interact with the objective at any time, and contribute towards the fight. Every inch forward is tangible on the objective itself. It's an immensely satisfying sense of progression, especially for newer players that want to contribute but haven't learned the ins and outs of TF2's complex mechanics. You can be the worst player ever. You can have no idea how any of the guns work, how any of the mechanics behave, and you can just hug the cart. That, my friends, is what makes Payload great. Satisfying progression, constant feedback from the objective, and the ability for all players to contribute whenever they want and however they want. I could go on all day about the intricacies of Payload's design and why they make it the most popular game mode, but don't take my word for it, take the player's word for it. I can very easily show you that Payload is the king, that it is the most popular game mode in Team Fortress 2, and all I need for that is data. A lot of data.
Oh, yes! I hate this! It is revolting!
More?
Please.
If you go on Steam and navigate to your personal game data for Team Fortress 2, you can find your casual mode match history. This records a ton of different stats on every single casual match you've ever played. Most of these stats are related to your in-game performance, like how many points you scored, how many kills you got, so on and so forth. But your match history also records what is known as a map index for every match you've played. Every map in TF2 has one. You can see a full list of the indices in the game files, but I made a lookup table for your convenience. With this, I can see what maps I've played on. But I can't just use my own casual mode match history to see if Payload is the most popular game mode. Obviously, it's biased towards my own behavior. And my own behavior dictates that Powerhouse is the best map in the game, therefore Payload sucks, end of the video, we're done. So, instead of using my own data, I reached out to all of you and asked for you to send in your casual mode match history. And you guys are awesome. 3,389 of you sent in your data. And after some data cleaning and organization, I was left with a grand total of a whopping 8.1 million matches of casual mode. That's awesome. For the record, I removed Scream Fortress and Smithmas matches. Halloween maps are grinded for contracts, independent of game mode, and Smithmas maps, well, we don't talk about those.
Like, really, dude? This is a TF2 map now.
Next, I sorted every match not only by game mode, but also by map. And sure enough, by volume, Payload is indeed the most played game mode in Team Fortress 2. Payload makes up 36% of all matches played, followed by Capture the Flag at 21%, Attack Defend at 16%, King of the Hill at 14%, 5 Control Point at 6%, Payload Race at 3%, and the lesser game modes filling out the rest. And while we're at it, let's take a look at the most popular maps in Team Fortress 2. Here are the top 10 rankings. Any guesses as to what's number 1? If you guess 2 Fort, well, there's no prize, you're just correct. 2 Fort is the most played map in Team Fortress 2, blowing all others out of the water by an additional 500,000 matches played. Just for perspective, 13% of all matches played took place on 2 Fort. Nearly tied for second place, we have Badwater and Upward. Surprise, surprise, I'm sure some of y'all thought that one of these would be number 1. Badwater and Upward are followed by Dust Bowl, Harvest, Turbine, Frontier, Swiftwater, Barn Blitz, and Borneo. 6 of the top 10 maps are Payload, and the other 4 are mainstay favorites. But we can go further. Some of you might have picked up on this, but volume alone isn't always the perfect representative for a map's popularity. Reason being, not every map has been in the game for the same amount of time. Casual mode started with 66 maps, whereas the majority of the additional 60 have been added over the last 3 years. They all haven't had the same amount of time to accumulate matches. So, a more appropriate gauge of popularity is the frequency at which each map is played. So, instead of volume, I calculated how often each map is played per week on average. If we look at game mode distribution again, players join roughly 22,000 matches each week, and nearly 9,000 of those are Payload, meaning Payload accommodates 40% of all player traffic. Seriously, think about that for a second. That's almost half of all player traffic. I was expecting it to be big, but not that big. And now if we look at the top 10 maps by frequency, well, not much changed. Ultimately, it's the same story. 6 of the top 10 maps are Payload, with the other 4 being mainstay favorites. But Borneo got dethroned by Pier. And there you have it. Payload is the most popular game mode in Team Fortress 2. Aw, but Zesty, that's no fun. Where did Borneo go? And what about all the other maps? Well, alright, it's fun to dive into these stats, so let's take a look. Here is a chart of the full rankings. Unfortunately, I can't cram in all of the map names on this chart, so you're gonna need to use that lookup table I linked in the description below. Plotting up the full rankings, and we can see that... Oh, wow, that is really bad. Just by visual inspection, the overwhelming majority of player traffic flows through a small handful of maps. Players join roughly 22,000 matches of TF2 each week, and over 15,000 of them take place on the top 25 maps, meaning these maps accommodate 70% of player traffic. 70%. The drop-off in activity is shocking. Compare Badwater's nearly 1,500 matches per week at rank number 2 to Embargo's 166 matches per week at rank 32. Not 102, 32. If I highlight all of the Payload maps, the vast majority of them dominate the upper ranks. Moreover, the most popular maps in Team Fortress 2 are overwhelmingly those added before 2018. Christ, only 4 maps added after 2018 break into the top 25. Pier, Phoenix, Odyssey, and Patagonia. All Payload maps. Then, if we look at how often each new map is played per week individually, most new maps see the vast majority of their activity shortly after being added. Once their respective update seasons end, the new maps rapidly die. You would think that casual mode, a system that offers variety with map selections, would more evenly distribute players. In fact, one of the most commonly cited benefits of casual mode is that you can pick your maps, that it does allow for more variety. However, it seems like players either don't want that variety or can't experience it. What's going on here? These findings are strongly reflective of one of TF2's major problems right now: bloat. While new content can be meaningful and even helpful for a game's longevity, more isn't always a good thing. As of now, there are 126 maps in the vanilla rotation. I can't stress this enough. A map pool this large would be ridiculous in any video game, of any size. No other video games on the market do this, or have ever done this in history, for obvious reasons. For one, it's simply unrealistic for the common player to spend enough time learning this many maps. Most people prefer returning to the same maps they know. They know the strategies. They know how to play on them. New maps can spice things up, and they can be fun, but expecting the common player to learn the ins and outs of 126 maps is insane. Hell, Valve even acknowledged this problem in their developer commentary from 2007, when TF2 launched with only 6 maps.
Multiplayer communities tend to focus on a small group of maps, playing them over again and again. With most multiplayer maps, you know what you'll be doing before the map is even finished loading. Instead of producing a large number of maps, most of which would go unplayed, we decided to try and build a single map with more innate replayability than any we'd built before.
6 maps was too few. Yes, it is a good thing that TF2 received more maps over the years, but it's gone too far. But Zesty, you might exclaim. Team Fortress 2 is an old game. Many of us have been here for well over 10 years now, so that's plenty of time to learn all these new maps as they come. Well, alright, playing devil's advocate, let's assume everyone knows everything about every single map. The bigger problem here with having this many maps is that TF2's player base gets spread too thin. Logistically, it is impossible to populate all of these maps for every region. If you want one full server for every single map for each large region, so ping is playable, not every data center, but large region, otherwise there'd be more, that's 126 maps times 8 major regions times 24 players per server, requiring at minimum 24,192 players at any given time. Of course, most of the time, TF2 doesn't have this many players inside of Valve servers globally, so we're already reaching impossible standards here. Back in the day, you could play on any map you wanted without issue, but these days, we have sluggish or outright non-existent server population for everything, other than Payload and the small handful of non-Payload maps in the upper ranks. If you want anything outside of this, it's a complete gamble to get what you want. Many classic maps are practically impossible to play on. You want to play on Sawmill? You know, Sawmill! Shout it from the mountaintops, baby! Sawmill! Sorry, it's Harvest, and you're playing Sniper. You want to play on Mountain Lab? One of my personal favorite maps? Nope, too bad, it's Dust Bowl again. You want to play on Pipeline? Oh, well, Zesty, you might exclaim again. Just tick off the maps you don't want to play on. Sorry, if you don't have something from the top 25 selected, or Payload, you'll be waiting around indefinitely for games that do not exist. This has become such a meme in Team Fortress 2 that we have entire YouTube channels dedicated to queuing for one map and one map only. Pipeline, Doomsday, Nightfall, all of these classic maps that have been in the game for over a decade. And they hit queue times of 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. This is ridiculous. In other words, you can certainly queue for as many maps as you'd like. You can even queue for a single map, but that doesn't mean you'll get to play on them. Further proof of this is this really nifty tool that recently went public. This tool taps into Steam's API and shows Valve server activity, including what region active servers are located and what maps they're running. At any given time, the vast majority of maps are simply not being played anywhere in the world. Man, I could really go for some Sawmill right now. Yeah, there's only 2 servers in Poland running it right now at 4 in the afternoon. Awesome, I'm in Texas, by the way. Man, I really want to play on some Mountain Lab, and no one's playing Mountain Lab right now. Try again later. And for lower population regions like Australia, oh my god, I feel so sorry for you guys. If you don't like 2 Fort, well, you're shit out of luck down under. I could also cite diminishing map quality as another reason why many maps go underplayed. It's pretty obvious why players overwhelmingly prefer Frontier over Venice.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
In fact, I think it's very safe to say that most players use map selections to omit the many poor quality maps we've received. But this doesn't explain why countless traditionally beloved and populated maps have been downright catatonic for years. Players used to love these maps, but now they're ghost towns. The question is, why? Why do players overwhelmingly prefer Payload? 40% of player traffic. Why do players avoid entire areas of the game that we all once loved? I don't believe players choose Payload over everything else because it's the best or because all the other game modes are flawed somehow. I'm not satisfied with that answer. There's more to this. It's not as simple as there being too many maps. That is a problem, yes, but I believe Payload is the most popular game mode for a much simpler reason, a mechanical reason that hasn't always been present in Team Fortress 2. And it all hinges on time. At a spiritual level, I could feel some eyes rolling after that last bit. Oh my god, he's talking about casual mode and meet your match again. Can you talk about anything else, dude? Yeah, I know I've been beating this drum for a while now. I'll tell you what, I'll stop talking about casual mode once it stops ruining my favorite game. Sound good? I would like to ask you, yes, you, the viewer, a very simple question. How much playtime do you believe is the absolute minimum required for a satisfying casual match, from when you first start playing until the match is over? I polled my own channel on this, and I polled Reddit. Overwhelmingly, by a landslide, the consensus is that 10 minutes is the hard expected minimum, with the majority of players desiring more than 10 minutes. Hence, I think I can safely say that anything less than 10 minutes would be considered an unsatisfying play session. In fact, I think that amount of time is very easily transferable to many other games that are at least somewhat similar to TF2, Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, even Counter-Strike. So, if 10 minutes is the desired minimum, how much playtime does your typical casual match actually offer? Well, thankfully, that's a very easy question to answer, and it's an answer that you're not gonna like. Going back to your casual mode match history, your records also keep track of match duration. This records the total length of every casual match from when the doors open until the final round ends, regardless if you were in the server the entire time. Using this and a couple of other stats, I can calculate how much playtime players experienced in every single casual match. And as a byproduct, I can also calculate how often players join ongoing games, how often players stay for the server reset, and how often players abandon their games. The math for all of this is pretty complex, so instead of a 20-minute math lesson that will guarantee turn everyone's brains off, I've opted to upload a supplementary document alongside the raw data, linked in the description below. If you're interested in how I did my stats, you can go have a look at this on your own time. That aside, before I show you playtime, since I'm interested in the amount of playtime that casual mode provides, I need to exclude matches where players abandon their games. Since they willingly cut their playtime short, the playtime offered in these matches would not be reflective of casual mode's functionality. After doing this, the size of this cull is shocking. My sample size drops from 8.1 million matches to 4.7 million matches, meaning players abandon their games 42% of the time. 42%. That's pushing half. And, as an aside, the abandonment rate did not change after Valve banned the bots. Year after year, it's remained about the same. Pretty surprising, actually. Now then, you would think that if TF2's match-based play produced reasonably fun games, reasonably satisfying games, that the abandonment rate wouldn't be pushing half of all games. Of course, one could say, well, you don't know why players abandon their game. Maybe it's because they're done playing for the day. But that's not 42% of the time. An abandonment rate of 42% is insanely high, indicative that many players are not satisfied with the games they're being placed into. Moreover, players aren't given any reason to stay when they're thrown into an unbalanced game. Ongoing stomps usually have no hope of becoming balanced, and since there's no abandonment penalties, every match is disposable. Players are completely free to constantly re-queue until they get a match that's more balanced, lasts longer, and is therefore more fun, because they actually get to play the game. And with my 4.7 million matches left over, I can prove that players overwhelmingly choose the game modes and the maps that offer them the greatest amount of playtime. Let's start by looking at playtime across all casual matches, just to get an idea of what's going on. Here is what is known as a histogram. This simply groups matches together by equal intervals of playtime. This first bar shows the play sessions that last 0 to 1 minute, then 1 to 2 minutes, you get the idea. Before moving on, it's kind of insane how many matches last under 2 minutes. What the fuck? I haven't even shown the rest of the data yet. Look at how tall these two bars are. Anyways, here's the rest. Right away, you'll notice that the vast majority of play sessions are heavily skewed to be shorter. On average, a casual match lasts just over 16 minutes. Well, that doesn't sound too bad, Zesty. That's 6 minutes over 10 minutes. But anyone trained in statistics knows that I can't use an average on skewed data. The minority of really long matches pushes the average to be higher, meaning it's no longer reflective of the typical player experience. For example, if you have 5 people in a room, 4 of them 18 years old and 1 of them 100, that means the average age is 34? How does that properly reflect the most common age? So instead, I'll be using the median, which is a far more appropriate gauge for commonality in skewed data. The median playtime for all casual matches is about 13.5 minutes, right above that 10-minute threshold. That still doesn't sound too bad, you know, it's 3.5 minutes over 10, but now consider these stats. 35% of all play sessions are under 10 minutes long. Think about that for a second. More than 1/3 of all TF2 play sessions offer an unsatisfying amount of playtime. Additionally, playtime ranges from over an hour to far more commonly, less than 1 second, showing just how wildly inconsistent the typical player experience can be.
I decided to open my raw dataset just to show you how many games have a 0 playtime. Here it is here. Just pay attention to this column right here. Ignore the negative values. These are bad data points that haven't been removed yet. But just look at the volume of games where you have 0 playtime. Nothing. It just keeps going. None. And then we get to the matches that have 1 second of playtime. This column's in minutes right now, so that's why it's 0.01. But just look at the number of games that are 1 second long. How is this okay? Oh yeah, and here's the longest game that someone played. Someone played on 2 Fort for 440 minutes. That is 7 hours. What?
And you have no control over this. You don't get to decide how long you play. Casual mode does. Every time you queue, you're effectively gambling, hoping you'll land into a match that's not about to end. And how do we tolerate this? Well, by just trying again and hoping it doesn't happen next time. One more spin of the wheel, next time will be better. That's all we can do. Waste more time in hopes of not wasting more time. If you think that's bad, it's about to get worse. A lot worse. Let's break these stats down by game mode. Let's begin with the least popular of TF2's core game modes, 5 control point. Looking at the histogram for all play sessions, playtime distribution is massively skewed to be low, with the median playtime landing at 8.5 minutes. God, that sucks. Worse still, 55% of all 5 control point games last under 10 minutes. 55%, and nearly 1/3 of them are under 5 minutes long. That is ridiculous. But I'm sure we all know why this is the case. Most of the time, 5 control point is heavily prone to steamrolling, meaning regardless of when you join the match, from the beginning, in the middle, what have you, the total potential playtime being offered to you is usually very, very short. Oppositely, on rare occasion, 5 control point locks into stalemates, meaning a match can go on for a very long time. Short play sessions are further exacerbated by the fact that players can be placed into ongoing games. In fact, the most common defense that I see for casual mode and match-based play is that there is a set beginning and a set end to every single match. But how often do you actually experience that match from beginning to end? Do you have your guess? 23% of the time, meaning 77% of the time, you are placed into an ongoing game. This automatically guarantees even less playtime, especially for 5 control point. Matches have a hard win-loss condition, a best 2 out of 3. Once that's met, it's game over. So usually, much to our dismay, we're placed into an ongoing game that's only a few minutes away from ending, and oftentimes, even after it's already ended.
I already missed the first half of the fucking game, and it was a roll! This match is gonna be over in 3 minutes. Watch. Yep, good game, good game! It was not even a minute! What's the point of match-based play if I miss the first half of the fucking game and then play for 60 seconds? What's the point? Seriously?
And at the end of each match, we're presented with the choice. You want to wait more before you start playing again? Or do you want to wait less? Speaking of which, our frustration with short play sessions is further reflected in how often we stay for the server reset. So guess how often players choose to stay? 30% of the time, meaning 70% of the time, players leave at the end of a match. Why do players leave the server? Well, the answer is twofold. First, the game very clearly signals to the player that the match is over, please leave the server now, which contradicts what comes after, which is the map vote. Why have the map vote after this very clear message to get the fuck out? This naturally encourages many players to leave, especially younger modern players who are told to do this in every other video game with skill-based matchmaking. This contradiction exists because Valve originally wanted players to leave the server after every match, but they retroactively changed this after Meet Your Match because players wanted to keep playing, not leave the server. Unfortunately, the map vote wasn't a good solution because, second, players don't want to wait. They want to keep playing the video game. Players leave because it's almost always faster to re-queue for a new match than to wait on the map vote, the server reset, and the pre-round timers. So it's no wonder that 5 control point isn't very popular. Chances are, you're not even gonna be playing for 5 minutes before you're thrown back into mandatory downtime. Hell, the fact that TF2 can have sub 5-minute play sessions with this frequency, with this amount of downtime in between, at all, is insane. It's frustrating. It's disruptive. It just sucks. Especially for those of us that only have a limited amount of time in a day to enjoy video games. I don't enjoy gambling my free time away by dumping it into a time-chewing slot machine. And if you think 5 control point is the worst, oh buddy, let's take a look at King of the Hill. Playtime distribution is basically one giant spike around the 10 to 12 minute mark, with a smaller bump around 18 minutes. The median play session length for all King of the Hill matches is just under 10 minutes, and over 50% of all King of the Hill matches are shorter than that. For anyone that actually plays Team Fortress 2, this shouldn't be a surprise. The reason for this is because, like 5 control point, King of the Hill has a best of 3 win condition, but also set round timers. One team has to control the central point for 3 minutes for 2 rounds. Hence, full King of the Hill matches have a hard minimum of 6 minutes, and a hard maximum of 18 minutes, excluding overtime. But, as we all know, King of the Hill matches rarely extend into that 3rd round. In fact, using your casual mode match history, I can easily calculate this. 32% of all King of the Hill matches reach the 3rd round. Yeah, so most of the time, King of the Hill play sessions rarely extend beyond 12 minutes. And since you're placed into ongoing games so often, 77% of the time, it's usually far less playtime than that.
Awesome, great game. Great game! I queued for longer than I played! How is this okay?
This is the exact same story with 5 control point, but worse, because there is zero chance for a longer drawn out stalemate. You have a hard cap of 18 minutes, if you're lucky, and once that's met, bye-bye, servers resetting now. This lack of playtime is such a notable problem that map makers started shipping new King of the Hill maps with 4-minute round timers instead of 3. It's no wonder that King of the Hill isn't very popular, because like 5 control point, it's worse than a coin flip to get a satisfying play session. Getting placed into an ongoing game practically guarantees you'll only be playing for a few minutes before the match is over. Sorry, did your game only last 2 minutes? Just re-queue. Your game last 5 minutes? Re-queue. Your game last 3 minutes? Re-queue. Your game last 20 seconds? Re-queue. How is this fun? How is this fun for anyone? Speaking of short games, here's a doozy. Let's take a look at Capture the Flag. That sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? Short Capture the Flag games? Most people think of Capture the Flag as the game mode that lasts forever. But if we take a look at the playtime histogram, that's not the case at all. Once again, play sessions are massively skewed to be low, with the median playtime landing at just under 13 minutes. Well, that's not so bad, not nearly as bad as 5 control point or King of the Hill, but this felt high to me. Anecdotally, whenever I'm playing Capture the Flag, most of my matches are really frickin' short. Then it hit me. More than half of all Capture the Flag games take place on 2 Fort. Much like Hightower, players typically don't seek the objective on 2 Fort, and if they do, the map is so small that it's heavily prone to stalemates, which stretches out matches to be much longer than on any other Capture the Flag map. Watch what happens when I remove 2 Fort from the stats pool. Play session length drops drastically, with the median playtime dropping to just under 10 minutes. Yep, that sounds about right. And just like King of the Hill and 5 Control Point, more than half of your Capture the Flag play sessions are under 10 minutes long, excluding 2 Fort, of course. Like 5 Control Point, Capture the Flag is mostly prone to steamrolling, and on rare occasion, long stalemates. Thanks to that best of 3 capture condition, and getting placed into ongoing games so often, your Capture the Flag play sessions are almost statistically identical to the length of 5 Control Point matches, which is utter fucking dog shit.
So it was like at a stalemate for like at least an hour, and the game's about to end. Fuck! I just joined! Look at this!
And lo and behold, when I remove 2 Fort from the stats pool, Capture the Flag goes from the second most popular game mode to the 4th, much more in alignment with what we see in the list of top 25 maps. Can you really blame anyone for avoiding this game mode? Well, hey there, sport, you want to play Capture the Flag? Well, sorry, bucko, you just joined a match where one team already capped twice, and the game is over. Fuck you, re-queue again, or wait for 3 minutes. So let's move on to the true second most popular game mode, Attack Defend. Looking at the playtime histogram for all matches, you'll notice right away that play session length is skewed much higher, with median playtime landing at 15.5 minutes. That is way better than on symmetrical game modes. This shouldn't surprise anyone, since the design of Attack Defend automatically guarantees longer play sessions, even if there's a one-sided stomp. If there's an unbreakable stalemate, that guarantees a full round timer's worth of playtime to complete the first half. If there's an unstoppable offensive roll, each point still needs to be captured, and caps move much slower than on 5 Control Point. If teams are slightly more balanced, and the losing team can put up a little bit of a fight, this greatly increases the amount of playtime. Thus, only 28% of all Attack Defend play sessions are under 10 minutes long. Talk about a massive improvement, and certainly far more appealing than what we've seen so far. Granted, this still paints a bleak picture. More than 1/4 of your play sessions are guaranteed to be short. Playing Attack Defend isn't a bulletproof shield from casual mode's bullshit. Now finally, it's time for the king. Payload. Plotting up the histogram for all matches, much like Attack Defend, play session length is massively skewed to be higher, with median playtime landing over 17 minutes. Thanks to Payload's design, it consistently offers the longest play sessions, even if you're placed into an ongoing game. If there's an unbreakable defense, the map timer must be completely run down in order for the first half to end. If there's a steamroll, the stomp is forced to match the pace of the cart, increasing playtime and therefore match duration. In fact, only 25% of all Payload play sessions last under 10 minutes. So even if you're placed into an ongoing game, chances are you're going to be playing for a lot longer than on any other game mode. It's no wonder that everyone flocks to Payload. It's no wonder that 44% of player traffic, almost half, chooses to reside here. Payload consistently offers the greatest amount of playtime with the least amount of disruption. Players are actually given enough time to settle in and play the game, which most of us clearly agree is what everyone wants out of this video game. Granted, like Attack Defend, Payload is not immune from casual mode's bullshit. You will be screwed out of your playtime 1/4 of the time. Not exactly good odds. Just to further prove the point that players choose Payload because it offers more playtime, Wheezy made a video where players ranked all 126 maps in Team Fortress 2. Players ranked Payload maps like Venice, Breadspace, and Embargo as some of the absolute worst in Team Fortress 2. Yet, according to my playtime statistics, they are some of the most played maps in the game. These crappy Payload maps, labeled as crappy by the community, independent of my influence, mind you, see more player traffic than Gravel Pit, Steel, Badlands, Viaduct, fucking Viaduct, seriously? Other game modes are so unappealing that players would rather subject themselves to abysmal dog shit, just so they can play the game. Even more proof of this is that pretty much every non-Payload map in the top 25 has insanely long games. Two Fort, obviously, but also Turbine, Dust Bowl, Hightower, Double Cross, and Powerhouse. It's no coincidence that they're right next to all of these Payload maps.
Oh my god. Yeah, that just proves my point. Holy shit, 300 points! That's crazy!
If this isn't evidence enough that players stick to Payload and these maps just to get more playtime, I don't know what else is. Now then, I'll briefly touch on Payload Race and the alternative game modes. Payload Race offers some pretty lengthy games. In fact, its median play session length blows Payload out of the water at a whopping 23.5 minutes. But, much like Capture the Flag, that's thanks to one map that no one seeks the objective on: Hightower. And if I remove Hightower from the pool, median play session length drops by almost a factor of 3 to under 9 minutes. God. So players not only avoid Payload Race because the queue times suck, but also because casual mode ensures that most of the time, you're gonna be playing for well under 10 minutes. It's not because these maps suddenly became terrible after being in the game for almost a decade, no sir, it's because you don't get to fucking play on them. So no one plays on them. It's a self-feeding problem. And good lord, have a look at this outlier. Poor medieval mode, man. The median playtime is under 7 minutes, with many games lasting under 4 minutes. 4 minutes, yet for some reason, De Groot Keep is the 14th most popular map. The reason why it's number 14 is because servers reset so often that it bumps the frequency of games to be insanely high, despite it likely making up a much smaller percentage of actual player traffic. How is it okay to reset a server every 4 to 7 minutes? What masochists willingly subject themselves to this? Would it not be more ideal to just keep playing round after round instead of resetting the server all the time? Man, what a novel concept! It's almost as if though we never had to worry about our playtime being cut short like this by a mandatory win-loss condition, the persistence of which is only required for adjusting skill ranks in a matchmaking system that doesn't form evenly skilled teams in the first place. So, to summarize everything I've covered, I have shown a near 1-to-1 correlation between game mode popularity and the playtime they offer. Statistically, most of the time, play session length in Team Fortress 2 is wildly inconsistent, ranging anywhere from 10 minutes to no playtime at all. I have also shown that the overwhelming majority of maps in Team Fortress 2 largely go untouched, which is strong evidence supporting that most players funnel into the maps that consistently offer the greatest amounts of playtime. Payload, Dust Bowl, Hightower, Powerhouse. Players intentionally avoid areas of the game that waste their time, even areas that were traditionally populated and widely played. This video doesn't even touch on the quality of those matches, like how well balanced they are or how full the server is, just the length of playtime. Casual mode offers the most frustrating and disruptive experience imaginable, where players are endlessly cycling through unsatisfyingly short matches. At each end, you're either forced to re-queue or wait for the server reset, needlessly interrupting your play and wasting your time, all to facilitate a failed matchmaking system that does not work. The ratio of downtime to playtime is ridiculous, something not experienced in any other video game. So, how is this okay? How is TF2's behavior even remotely considered acceptable, let alone tolerable? Imagine if any other games behaved like this. Overwatch, Marvel Rivals, Counter-Strike, Siege, you name it. Just try. to justify TF2's behavior in those games. Just try to explain to those players. Yeah, it's totally normal that when you queue, you could be playing for 10 minutes, 2 minutes, or not at all. You could be playing in a full server, or a half-empty server, or a completely empty server. Your teams could be the same size, or uneven for minutes at a time. You want to play on a map you like, including maps that have been in the game since launch? Well, sorry, chances are you're gonna be waiting around indefinitely for games that do not exist. Do you think that would fly in any other video game? Hell no. If you even tried to justify this to any other player base in any other game, you would be laughed out of the room. No other games of roughly equal size, popularity, and certainly not profitability come anywhere close to TF2's level of dysfunction. Because if they did, players would complain, stop spending money on it, and leave. Unfortunately, TF2 remains in this bizarre position where whatever problems it faces are hand-waved away by the very vocal fans, let's call them. This is because TF2 is not only a Valve game, but also a neglected Valve game, which allots certain privileges that no other games have, at least not to the extent that Team Fortress 2 has them. Instead of players banding together and demanding something be done about these objective problems that hurt the game, the logical, reasonable thing to do, disappointingly, all too often, the solution for TF2's problems is either pure apathy or ignore the problem, attack and mock the people that bring them up, and hope that Valve starts behaving like 2010 Valve when they were still game developers. TF2 is old, just move on, just re-queue again, just don't play on all of those maps, just be grateful that Valve hosts servers at all. Ah yes, Valve, with their gilded reputation, can do no wrong, so clearly it's the players' fault for engaging with their game incorrectly, or at all. Or some even go so far as to use emotional blackmail to get you to shut up by saying something to the effect of, "Oh, you better not complain too much or else, well, Valve's gonna shut the game down." I can't tell you how many times I've seen these deflections across Reddit, Twitter, you name it. I suppose wasting time not playing the game isn't an issue for the unemployed, but I have a job. I only have so much free time in a day to enjoy video games. You may not value your time, but I value mine. I don't enjoy endlessly spinning the casual mode wheel, gambling for what might hopefully be a longer play session. Well, if you don't like casual mode, just go play on community servers. No one's stopping you. Yeah, pretty much every player aware of the server browser knows that there's not many vanilla or close to vanilla options left. Valve killed community servers in 2016 with the same update that introduced casual mode. Then, to make matters worse, TF2's neglect only galvanizes its protected status. If anyone has already forgotten, because it certainly seems that way, Team Fortress 2 was rendered unplayable by cheating bots for almost a decade, and Valve was perfectly content on doing nothing about this for years, until the players complained so loud they could not ignore it anymore. So what happened is that the bots persisted for so long that any other game state without the bots became bliss by comparison. Simply loading into a server and not instantly dying became the new gold standard. There's no real justifiable reason for why casual mode should behave the way it does, but players stopped complaining about these decade-long problems because they got numbed by 9 years of bots. Whatever gameplay we can scrape out of casual mode nowadays is good enough because, well, at least the bots are gone. It is insane how all of that worked out in Valve's favor. It was so bad for so long that just loading into a server is good enough now, if you're lucky. The map is changing! The map is fucking changing!
Oh yeah, I just saw that happen!
What the fuck? Listen, I'll be real with you here. If anyone listening to this seriously cares about TF2's longevity and wants to play this game 2, 3, 5 years from now, I have news for you. TF2 is not growing. It is visibly dying. Player counts have only been going down over the last 4 years. TF2's neglect, the degraded gameplay experience, the broken updates, the poor quality content, all of this pushes players away. The veterans are exhausted, and new players don't stick around. How could we expect any new players to stick around and put up with this bullshit? TF2 is an immensely complex game as it is, but when you're not even given enough time to learn the basics of the game before you are forced out of play, imagine if this was someone's first ever experience in TF2.
Teleporter going up.
This is the norm. This happens all the time. Imagine the confusion. What just happened? Is my game broken? Is this normal? What's going on? Why would anyone in their right mind in this massive market of free-to-play games ever want to stay? We wonder why this game doesn't grow. It's a miracle any players stick around at all. TF2's current management is not sustainable. Its current behavior is unacceptable, especially from a multi-billion-dollar company. For those of us who still care, it's time to act. We should not be complacent with a broken game. There is no serious argument in favor of how TF2 currently functions. As one of the most successful titles in gaming history, with tens of thousands of players every single day to this day, that Valve still offers is playable and monetized, earning them tens of millions of dollars a year, TF2's dysfunctionality is downright pathetic and should no longer be tolerated. It is long overdue for real, tangible, meaningful corrections. Corrections that players have been asking for since 2016. Corrections to changes that no one asked for, that no one wanted, after the worst update in TF2's history made the game no longer respect a player's time, nor a player's agency. Before signing off, be sure to go check out Last Flag while it's 20% off using my link down below. But where the hell do we start with this, man? What the fuck are we the players supposed to do about the miserable state of TF2's gameplay? Another hashtag, another movement. It always seems like we need YouTubers to rile up the players to get them to realize the massive glaring problems staring at them in the face. And as always, it's gonna be quite an uphill battle, as it is when dealing with any other AAA developer. But this all starts with 3 simple words.